Hello, I am author and internet entrepreneur Zachary, and I'm very excited. As you can see, I have a guest with me today. For I've been wanting to do this for a while, and we're finally getting around to it. So, you readers of my memoir Off Balance will not recognize the face because it's a book, but this is the real life Zach Morris, James Schleicher, and I wanted to give you guys the chance to get to know James a little better, and so he's with us today. Thanks for joining us, James.
Pleasure to be here.
Now, before we get into a little bit about you, a little more about you, I'm going to be self-centered and ask you a question that kind of is about me. And so you've read Off Balance, my memoir,
yep,
and
a few times.
Great.
A few times.
And so what? Reading Off Balance, what did you learn about? Was there something you learned about me that you didn't know before, or?
Yeah, I think. The biggest thing I learned was, I know Zach Fenell from college, and
Notre Dame Falcons.
Yeah, represent. Learning about your early childhood and high school, and just all the physical things, the emotional things, the mental, just the social things that you had to battle with internally and externally. It was so powerful to me, to where I know I'll be honest, when I'm having a rough day, if I'm having a tough time, I'll read your book and be like, it will help remind me that it's gonna be okay if I keep working hard. If I be like Zach, then things will be okay. So no, I think that it taught me that relentless effort and hard work does pay off, and that I think too, I just had a lot more respect for you, and then anybody with cerebral palsy is just my absolute hero now. So it was very very powerful.
Thank you. That is very flattering words. I will put a disclaimer out there for everyone that, again, cerebral palsy is so different for everyone, so that just because you have CP doesn't mean your experiences are going to relate to mine, but there are going to be some things that do relate, other things that don't. So it's just always important to remember not to kind of generalize CP and think of it as in what one person goes through, because it's more than that. There's a lot of ways it can vary. But moving on to you, James. So if you were to write a teen memoir about your teenage years, what would the title be?
Tears of Sadness. No, you had asked me about this before, and it really got me thinking. And the title of my teen memoir, I think, would be "The Almost Kid." And what I mean by that is, I was very, very focused on athletics. I was a distance runner. In high school, I set a couple school records, and you would think that would be good enough, but I had some very lofty goals of what I wanted to accomplish, and it is just, I look back, and what makes me happy is that any goal that was achievable, I did achieve it. However, just that almost kid, I just felt like the universe was against me when it came to if I just accomplished X, life would be perfect. And it kind of continued into college, and it wasn't until I think a couple years into my career that my saying kind of became, the amazing thing about setting goals that seem unachievable is that you actually achieve everything that is. So like I said, the almost kid, I think I was too young, too immature to truly grasp how it was helping me, and it was. I will say that every time I didn't get something, it made me work that much harder to get the next thing. So the almost kid, like I said, those moments of those tears of sadness, moments of rejection, but that's life, and then that's something that if I would hate to know James Schleicher, who accomplished everything he wanted and who never had to deal with failure and never had to deal with, you know, things not going his way. I mean, I'm terrified of that James Schleicher. So it all worked out for the best, and probably for sure for everybody. But and you know, in college, one of my sayings that we talked about back in the punk rock band days was expect success, but understand failure. And I think that was kind of the almost kid that was him maturing. Was that I was starting to realize that yes, you continue to set the bar high, you can continue to expect success, but you have to be able to understand failure and that it does happen, it will happen, and you can't prevent it. So it's how are you going to react to it?
So basically, the almost kid, to sum up, the almost kid would be about learning from failure and how it made you the man you are today.
Yeah.
In a way.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Excellent.
So.
Excellent. And I think that because that you hit on a key point that is, and again, IFCP and off balance is my CP memoir. But again, there are just certain things as humans we can all relate to, and we're all going to go through failure in life.
Yep.
If you met someone who says they haven't gone through failure, I can tell you right now, they're lying. We're all going to go through failure, so it's all something we can relate to. And listening to you talk reminded me of, and this is going to kind of get into my next question and maybe spoil it, what your answer is going to be a little bit, but it reminded me of when the blog post you've written. James is the blogger over at ibbjames.com. So, you have to check that out. I'll make sure I have the link somewhere for you guys to check out ibbjames.com and check out James's blog. So that's, that kind of leads into some of the stuff you're doing now. So, because it's been, I graduated 7 years ago, which means you graduated 9 years ago. What have you been doing since? What's life like for you now?
Yeah. So basically, I had a brief stint as a motivational speaker, and that was fantastic. But it was only in the fall and the spring, so student loans need to be paid year round. So they say, so I actually got into finance, and just been doing that since January '08. So it's been very rewarding. And what I will say is that the career world is much more brutal than high school. It's much more brutal than college, but I was ready to get beat up because of the almost kid failing in high school, and the expect success, understand failure mentality that I finally matured and got in college. So really, the career world, I've been fascinated by business itself. I've been fascinated by leadership. So actually just got my executive coaching certification from Case Western, and so I'm kind of expanding, hopefully the ways I can help people. At the end of the day, I want people, if they're going to work with me, if they're going to even have a brief conversation with me, my hope is that they leave with better understanding of the things that I'm an expert at, and can hopefully share with them and put them in a better place. Actually, too, just been helping out with going back to the almost kid roots, helping out with my old high school, coaching distance for track and field, and I will actually be coaching cross country for the first time at our rival, which is kind of weird, but I'm very excited because too, like you and I, technically high school, we could have been at odds, but then we came together in college. So, some of my East Lake North is the school that I'll be helping out the cross country team. Some of my biggest allies in business and very, very good friends went to East Lake North. But so I'm trying to build that concept of life is much bigger than just high school, and the career world is going to require you to work with people who maybe you have once been at odds with. But just because someone's a certain way or is from a certain place doesn't mean that there's not a lot of amazing things they have to offer you and you can offer them. So, but that answer your question?
Yeah,
like I'm married
everyone
to
has a
Erica,
story.
Elizabeth,
Everyone
so,
has a
yeah,
story.
I'm happily married.
And it's funny
Should've started with
because
that.
we have we don't want to go too far into our time, but there's a lot, some things you want to briefly follow up on. You mentioned the career world being brutal. What Very quickly, what's the most brutal thing you have found about the career world that you've had to adapt to?
Just whether you're right or wrong, or no matter how passionate you are about what you're doing, or whether it's a product or a service, a lot of times people don't really care, and you have to. And I think it's the rejection. So you got to keep in mind that in the career world, in the business world, people aren't necessarily saying no to you. They're saying no, to the product or the service, or how I kind of keep my head straight is I don't hear no, I hear not now, and it keeps me motivated, it keeps me
All you
positive.
telemarketers out there, there's
Right.
still hope. Don't let all the no's and the hang-ups bother you. And you mentioned that you got your coaching certification. For my final question, if anyone's out there looking for what's your ideal coaching client?
Ideal coaching client is someone who's trying to grow their business. I have a unique background from having the financial background as well, so it's more than just the money, growing that, but branding and just people that they want to get more immersed in the community and grow their business, and just finally get a plan of, hey, I'm working all kinds of crazy hours. If any employee's calling sick, well, guess what? Now you're working today, and it's just any way that I can help grow their business. But usually a smaller business,
And what would be the best way for a potential client to get in touch with you to inquire about your coaching services?
The coaching services, they could call me at 440-749-0570. I don't know, do people still call? Do they still use the phone? But
they can text too. They can text too. And you heard him. It's a good thing you say he's already married. So he's got a lovely wife named Erica. So ladies, unless you want a coaching call, don't be just calling to call. But yes, and all right. Well, thanks, James. And any final closing comments for the people out there?
Yeah, if they just want more general information, you can email at stayconnected@ibbjames.com. So IBB. But that's pretty much it, man. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everyone who took the time to watch this. It's been an amazing journey, and very excited that you're along here with me, buddy.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Moving forward into the future. Yeah. That's why you should get extracurricular activities. This all started with the Notre Dame News at college. So, get extracurricular activities. You never know where a friendship might take you. So, all right. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you another time.